Welcome to the Pay Love Forward podcast. My name is Dr. Matthew Leavenworth, founder and director of Pay Love Forward. This series shares the stories of Montana's quiet builders of compassion, those who choose to lead with courageous authenticity. At Pay Love Forward, our mission is to build compassionate communities for the at-risk and underserved through mentorship. This podcast is one way we live out that mission. Pay Love Forward is partnered with Resilient Stories, an organization dedicated to amplifying the voices of courage, recovery, and renewal across Montana. Together, we're committed to hearing the story within the story, the deeper narrative of resilience that connects us all. This series on story is Nonviolent Resistance has been about one thing: who controls the narrative landscape and what it means to tell an authentic story. It's one thing to tell a better story, but it only matters if people are listening. This episode was recorded in May of 2026. As we near the pivotal June primaries and November elections, we're faced with a daunting reality of the level of bad faith influence and deception surrounding politics. In the age of AI, dark money, news networks that act like propaganda machines, and billionaires that seem to care about only one thing, more power and wealth, how can we possibly know who to trust? In this episode, I sit down with Ed Doctor, Brian Miller, and Sam Lux. Ed and his crew at the Beer Buds and Big Sky podcast have been doing exactly that, defending our information streams. The BBBS podcast has amassed a significant followership by telling a better story through comedy and an authenticity that Montanans and Americans are flocking to. Brian and Sam are running for Congress in the same election and doing something almost unheard of in this day and age, campaigning together. In this episode, I talk about asymmetrical warfare. For me, this is about one thing: building a narrative platform that transcends the confusion and obfuscation that plagues our democracy. This series is about taking back our stories and finding ways to elevate the right people, the right politicians, and the right leaders. It's about beta testing new tactics that undercut the influence of dark money and can be repurposed and reused by those individuals willing to put themselves out there and stand up for what is right. The narrative reality of politics is a live, unfolding story. To get at the heart of it, we need to tell a live, unfolding story. For this episode, we used a video game streaming service that allowed all of us to live stream on our various platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and others, essentially combining the outreach capacity of all four of us. We garnered thousands of views and interactions at a time when Montana primaries are decided often by hundreds of votes. As far as I know, this hasn't been done, and it allowed us to reach an audience far larger than any one of us could have. If we're ever going to take back our information streams, these are the kinds of methods and tactics we're going to have to deploy. We're simply going to have to get smarter, more creative, and work together if we stand any chance at fighting back against the insidious forces that seek to keep us divided, in the dark, and weak. Help us grow our platform as we fight back. Please follow and subscribe to the Pay Love Forward podcast. Share this episode or any other that's moved you with a friend. The world needs better stories, and Pay Love Forward and Resilient Stories intends to tell them. Forms, recording, like this is distribution at an incredibly high level. And Ed, you want to do the intro, man? I mean, we have the two candidates in this race with the best hairstyles of anyone.
All right, yeah, I'm blown away. There's a lot of
no hair.
I don't even understand it. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in and downloading, watching. We'll put this on our Spotify when it's done. I'm Ed Doctor, one of the hosts of Beer Buds and the Big Sky podcast. We got Matt Leavenworth. We are going to talk Montana politics today, interview with Sam Lux and Brian Miller. The one interesting thing, and I think that I'm pretty excited about doing this because Sam and Brian have been campaigning together, even though they're opponents. And I think that's incredibly interesting. I think it's awesome, to be honest. I think that, it shows unity in people where it doesn't seem to exist in our political parties anymore. Back in the day, it was a lot friendlier, and people would campaign together. They wouldn't care as long as one of them won. Everybody was interested in a good person winning. And that's what I'm seeing with what you guys are doing. And I'll let one of you guys start talking about who came up with it and how's it been going out on the trail.
Well, I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
No, go ahead. I'm checking because I'm still hearing an echo. Is anybody else hearing an echo?
No, but my phone was making noise before, so I turned it off.
I muted a bunch of stuff.
Right, I'll talk while he's teching it.
Yeah, we got our tech guy. Sam's our guru.
he's doing double shifts, double duty. Yeah.
After having a horse fall on him.
We ran into each other at this event in Great Falls. And I think the bottom line is that, like, you know, I think we both realized as we talked that we were doing this for the same reason, which was just because, you know, Downing's just killing us. Doesn't seem to give a damn about anything. So, you know, that's the main, we just got to get him out. We just got to put him in with someone who actually gives a damn. So it's like, I think that, I think we both felt that we were adequate. Right?
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. And like, when it comes down to it for me, this was about the fact that when Brian and I first sat down and talked together, we really talked about like why we're running and what it is that we're actually trying to achieve. And I think that we were able to kind of come to the conclusion that neither one of us are running for personal glory or the ability to just get something out of it. We're running because we're actually trying to help our neighbors across the state. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, that's the only reason I'm here to begin with. So I fully believe that no matter which one of us wins, we are going to be doing the best for the state of Montana. I'm proud to run alongside Brian. I'm proud if I move forward in the primary, and I'm proud if he moves forward in the primary.
Yeah. Same. No, I think you said it well. And then, like you said, Ed, I mean, people are just, why does it? I mean, I get it. Like in District 1, you know, there's different personalities, there's different issues, whatever. I mean, we did have an issue with Windy Boy. That was a little bit different. I was going to talk
about that a little bit about that next. Yeah. He's not in your club.
Yeah.
But can you guys just take a second though and just give a synopsis of the story? I mean, because that's what you're describing. You both attended an event together, and there's something that drove both of you to get involved at this time. That, I mean, for me personally, man, this is a time our country is in need, and you guys rose to that challenge. But you have your own unique reasons for it. And I mean, Sam, I got to chat with you a little bit earlier this weekend. Brian, I know pretty well by now. You know, we get to hang out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's an inspiration. I mean, that's how I feel about it. I feel about that. All of the candidates who are standing up right now. And you know, you can be humble if you want to, but like this is a huge endeavor, and our country has never needed people standing up for it more.
Well, and, you know, I think that it just kind of goes into is the fact that we're seeing a call that I think everybody across the board is just getting sick and tired of politics being this game of brinksmanship amongst billionaires and the bought and paid for consultant class. And what I'm bringing to the race as a farrier out of Montana, what Brian's bringing to the race as a lawyer who has advocated for the people here in Montana, even what we're seeing out of a lot of the folks in the Senate, like Riley Neal, who has, you know, definitely been putting as a people first campaign. People are getting sick and tired of these bought and paid for political campaigns that have nothing to do with actually representing the people. And we're seeing across the board, not just here in Montana, but across the whole country, more and more working class folks standing up saying, hey, I'm going to run. I'm not your normal politician, but I'm running because I actually want to help people. I actually want to make this an act of civil service, not personal enrichment. And I think that, you know, like when Brian and I first met at the Have Your Say on Labor Day event here in Great Falls, I mean, I think that we both were able to click on that right away because it's like, oh, wait, this isn't a guy who's just running because he wants to get something out of it. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think that, you know, Brian, we were talking about it just the other day about how with how expensive this campaign is and with how much time there's on the road, we're both falling way behind on work. This is personal sacrifice that we're willing to invest because, hey, what if it could help our neighbors actually get something better moving forward?
Yeah. I think like what I think it comes down to is really the main job qualification at this point is giving a damn. Mm-hmm. That's really what it comes down to. Do you give a damn about people? And I don't really think you need to be an expert. I don't think you need to be a superhero. I think you just need, I think in fact, actually one of the things that I want to do is get away from this celebrity cult that we put around politicians. I hate it.
Right.
And I think we just need regular ass people who make mistakes, who screw things up. I mean, that's how the founders, that was how it was supposed to be. They wanted people in there who were regular people And we've gotten so far away from that. So far away from that. So I think, I think Sam and I both were coming on the same vibe.
When you talk about making mistakes, Trump has set the tone. If you make a mistake, just blame Biden. You're fucking
because
fine.
Biden. Because Biden.
I snapped my ankle. Goddamn Biden. Yeah. It's interesting, and it's a great story. And Riley Neal's a great story. We just got done interviewing Lee Calhoun. He's a primary against Almy. So Almy's got all the PAC money, all the money in the world. This is a Republican. This is the first Republican that actually accepted an invite to be on our to be interviewed by us. And when you talk about Troy Downing, and I'm going to be honest, 99% of these Republicans, they won't talk to you. No. They never email me back ever. And if it is, it's a one-word no. So there's something that they know they don't need to talk to people. So why in the fuck would they? Well, their money's coming not from these people. They don't give in Montana, and I fucking hate to say it, man, but our voters are fucking stupid. They don't give a fuck. I mean, you're stupid. If it only takes an hour to vote for somebody, that's fucking stupid. Jim Calhoun, he's running as a Republican. He started a solar company in the Flathead Valley where the sun never shines. So I'm not sure how smart he is, but regardless, he was a mechanical engineer for Kodak. He drives a Tesla that his license plate says no CO2. And he believes in free Medicare, free healthcare for everybody. He understands that we're the only wealthy nation out there that doesn't do it. What a great guy. What a great concept. Hard to believe he's a fucking Republican. You look at the guy, you're like, really? Are you sure? He's like, oh, yeah, nope, 100%. Okay. But at least he's genuine. And there are some genuine people out there, because you're right. We're losing that. We're celebritizing these people. It's fucking ridiculous, Troy Downing can't get celebritized. Just look at the guy. Not very camera friendly.
Well, and see, to your point about, some of the people we're seeing come out, even, they're on the Republican side, like the fellow you just mentioned, I think that what we need to remember is that political party is, it may define something of overall ideology. At the same time, I think it's really important to remember that it is supposed to be the people who run for offices that shape what the party is supposed to be, not the party who shapes what the people are supposed to be. We see the same. Look at Windy Boy here within our own race, where, he clearly does not represent the ideals of the Democratic Party. He constantly votes against the women's rights. He has this insane history of sexual misconduct. This is not what any of us are there to embody. Right. But by running in the party, he does cast, something on the party there. I really hope that people like Almy start taking back the Republican Party, because quite frankly, I've got nothing against Republicans. I've got something against fascists, but I don't have anything against Republicans. So if we start seeing real, practical, people first policies on the Republican side, I'd be the first to extend out a hand and say, hey, let's work together. And I think that's what we have.
There's a huge number of us that used to be independents, / sort of right leaning on a number of issues. I include myself in that. And it's
Trump
just like
that all up,
it's whatever has happened to the Republican Party, where it's become a cult, where it's become this, just this it is a system of control. Ed, you and I last time were talking about when the so-called assassination attempt came out, and it was hours afterwards. It was an AI post, as far as I could tell, from all of the candidates asking for a ballroom. What is that? Where is there's just no independence. There's no who are you if all you do is regurgitate what your party is telling you to? And so that's those aren't Republican ideals. Those aren't those are fascist ideals, as far as I can tell.
No, without a doubt. And I don't know, Brian, I'm pretty surprised I haven't seen this on your social media, but I'm not sure if you know, Troy Downing asked about the Grinders DC party, before there was a Grinder party in DC before the convention.
I know about it. I saw it.
Dude, it's awesome. He thought the dinner was about meaty sausages. Holy fuck. How out of touch it. I'm not saying everybody should know what Grinder is, but you should know something, and you shouldn't make. Some people just don't give a fuck about making a fool of themselves, and this guy obviously doesn't. But I just kind of thought that was funny, and that was something that I appreciate your social media out there.
I'm going to tell you what's interesting about that, because I am aware of that. I watch him like a hawk.
Oh, good.
And what was interesting about that was it just showed that it just showed kind of like how out of touch he is. He doesn't understand. Like, I'm not saying you gotta like be on a grinder or something like that, but I mean, that's just, that's something that's out there. What kind of world do you live in if you don't even know what that is? Just know what the shit is. And I think with Downing, his psychology as a person, he's a very interesting individual because, on the one hand, he's very intelligent. I mean, he has a math degree. He was a tech entrepreneur. Do you know he's licensed to fly like 35 different kinds of aircraft?
Wow.
And he went voluntarily to Afghanistan. He didn't have to go. He put himself at risk, and now he doesn't give a damn about anybody. Right? What happened to the guy? And this gets back to the celebrity thing, but it's very interesting. You follow him on social media, and it's like he goes through all of the, he goes, I went to the so-and-so today and found out, I asked how I could be an effective advocate. I'm like, repeal the goddamn tariffs, buddy. I mean, there's so many things he could do, and he's oblivious. The man is oblivious.
Republicans afraid? Are they just afraid of Trump? I mean, that's what you hear in the back, the backstories, back room. They talk about how they're just, they're just afraid of him. And, in the Republican Party, and Matt, you said it before, you don't know what the fuck's happened to him. Yeah. I mean, our Montana Republican Party's primarying anybody that worked with a fucking Democrat. They're calling all these guys rhinos, the nasty nine. They're doing the House and the Senate. I mean, Jesus Christ. And they're not giving the voters a right decision. Like, what Daines did, 2 minutes before the race, 2 minutes,
Well, Ed,
that's insane.
Have you seen like they are literally going after straight classic Montana Republicans and saying they're part of the transgender? I'm like, what the hell are you guys talking about? They're not.
I don't know. It's blowing my mind, man. Like it was never like this, and it is now.
And that's the thing. What we're seeing is the rise of the break. And I say it a lot because, I genuinely do not believe that Republican and MAGA are the same thing. And we're starting to see the division between the two because now that we had the MAGA brand of Republican gain so much power within the current administration, they have now started to break themselves off from the sensible Republican policies that I still may not disagree with, but they are still people forward. They're about trying to help their neighbors, even if it's in a way that I wouldn't. And instead, it's being pushed more and more into this totalitarian, extremist, authoritarian agenda where it's either my way or no way at all. And I think that is the big key here, is that we're seeing them start to prosecute those Republicans that are willing to work across the aisle, willing to work on common sense policy, because it pokes a hole in it. It creates the flaws that show the same as we've seen throughout history, the authoritarian takeover and why it's unnecessary. And I think it's all the more important that we really do encourage. I mean, I say it all the time on the campaign trail. Montana may be conservative, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not red. And I think that we can really do a lot of work by pulling back on that and making, making the politics about, hey, let's come together. Let's talk about it. I work with ranchers and farmers all the time that are exceptionally conservative folks who are still really, really eager to sit down at the table and have a real conversation about how anyone, regardless of party, can actually work to bring some common sense policy back, make so the prices can come down and people can continue to live their lives.
So, I mean, to me, there's like it's this moment in history where it's so glaringly obvious that, and Brian, I love your kind of line on this, where it's, we can have some sympathy for you if you supported Trump, once upon a time, but like, if you're still MAGA in 2026, after the Iran war, after tariffs, after all of our prices everywhere, it's just like, and we want you back. Like come back, please, to something like sanity. And I mean, I find you guys so refreshing. One, this sort of dual campaign and this, I don't know, like true comradeship that I kind of see right now. And I just think that this is what sanity looks like. Just like, regular, like, dude, you had a horse fall on you right before you were like literally late to the podcast because a horse fell on you. Like that's so refreshing Like I don't think Trump has ever had a horse fall on him. Like I
don't think refreshing is the word Sam would use to describe that
horse falling on him.
But
I'm over here. I'm like, I'm covered in dirt, and I'm like, I stink right now.
It's not refreshing, bro.
I gotta bend over because I'm like, oh, I can't sit up straight.
We're doing this on video because Sam smells so bad. Yeah, we had to go.
But I think that this is a thing that we're going to be working on. A puzzle we're going to be working on in the general election, right up here is how far can you go? Because it's going to be interesting, but there is a huge, Sam was talking about, and I study this very carefully. There's a huge MAGA breakup. Some of the stuff, I mean, literally, like some of the stuff that's really gotten a lot of attention, for instance, is when I share clips from Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the Iran war. And you're kind of through the rabbit hole, but those guys have some of the most moral clarity on the Iran war that you will hear anywhere. Yeah. It's insane. And how many of those people are going to keep going back to Troy Downing? Because he's a globalist. Troy Downing is a globalist. He's part of the globalist class. Will people still go to him in Montana? That's the puzzle we're going to work on. I mean, they shouldn't go back to him. But where do they go, right? Where the hell do they go? It's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to it.
Well, and Brian, not to cut it back in real quick, but like, it was something that we were actually talking about down at the Truman dinner the other day, which is the fact that, like, look back 2 years ago, and darn near half of the clients that I work for, they had the red hats on. They, were had the MAGA flags up. And at this point, I've got one client who still flies their MAGA flag and who still, wears the hat. And, I think that a big part of this, in addition to needing to really focus on being able to build real working class policy that is sensible and appeals to that, conservative but popularized ideology that a lot of Montana has, is we have to give these folks the opportunity to make the transition in a way that's not the, I told you so or anything. Mm-hmm. We have to give them, because I genuinely believe that pretty much all the folks who voted that way in the last election, they didn't do it for the most part because they're malicious or they're after anybody or anything like that. They did it because they genuinely thought they were doing the best thing to provide for their families. And I don't actually see anything wrong with that. I think that they were wrong, but I don't see anything wrong with that. And for those of them that are now on the fence are like, well, that didn't work out the way I'd hoped it would, what we have to be able to do is provide them now the opportunity to make a new choice and have it be a good experience. Because if we sit there and we push back on it too aggressively and we're like, you were wrong, and because of you were wrong, all this stuff has happened, where, that, might be justifiable with some extremists, for the regular everyday folks out here in Eastern Montana, that's going to push them right back over into the arms of Troy Downing, because at least it's accepted. And, I think that's what we really need to do, is give them that opportunity to quietly move over. And if we do that, we are going to be able to just absolutely dominate in this race, regardless of if Brian or I are the one that moves forward. We're going to absolutely dominate in this movement.
Can't use the word transition though. I got to come up with a better word. But
we'll give him a sex change.
That, Montana.
Come on.
I was gonna say. I was joking. I know we were just. But I was gonna say though, in a little bit of a variation that I take with this too, is that also I think that we got to be direct about this. I mean, we got to, because at the same time, it's like, okay, guys, don't be so proud to just, we want to repeal the tariffs. We want to have a farm bill that we want right to repair. We want these things. The guys that you're signing up with want to dump $800 million of Argentinian beef into your market. They're globalists. You need to wake up a little bit, because you don't have forever here.
Well, they don't want to. They did everything. That. They already did that.
So we need some directness with these people too, but we got to find out. I think what I think, Sam, too, is that we can't come off as righteous liberals. There's nothing more annoying than somebody who's like, I told you so. I mean, dude, no, don't do that shit. People hate
you
it.
are, Brian, I'm going to tell you what, and that's a big reason we started our podcast, because I would say this to people. This is before when we did our first podcast. It was very local, way more local. But I'm like, what I don't like is I'm a liberal. There's nothing I can do about it. That's who the fuck I am. I grew up a redneck. I shot it. If it moved, I fucking shot it. I say retard. I smoke pot. I drink fucking beer. I do the wrong shit all the time. I make fucking mistakes every day. But who the fuck do I vote for then when they're going to treat me like fucking shit? Walk down Pearl Street in Boulder with a fucking cigarette in your mouth. You will get fucking death stares. They want to kill you. You could do fucking heroin and it wouldn't bother a goddamn person, but smoke a fucking cigarette? Jesus Christ.
You don't like Pearl Street, huh?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I don't like a lot of things liberals do, but I don't not like liberals because I'm a fucking liberal because I believe in helping my neighbor out, caring about people. I mean, I believe a lot of the liberal ideals out there that, we should have fucking healthcare. It shouldn't be putting people in fucking, bankruptcy. And it is what it is. I just thought I had to go off on that tangent because there's something to that,
Dude, this is why I love Ed so much, man. Like, honestly, I think you're fucking Moses, man. You're going to lead us out of the wilderness of elite liberal assholes.
So, Ed.
That guy ain't Moses right there. I'll tell you that guy is not Moses.
Actually, it's something that it was one of the reasons I originally liked when I got to meet you down there in September so much, because that was like right after I first got into my campaign, right? Like I got in my campaign late July, it's about a month later. And the very first Democratic meeting that I went to, I was right out of work and I was training horses that day. I had my spurs on my boots. I had my cowboy hat on my head. I go into the meeting and I literally have somebody propose ending the meeting early because they were scared of the Republican in the room. And here I am running for the Democratic primary. And I'm like, man, if you're scared of a cowboy hat in Montana, just like the exit's that way, like go. And it was why I was so like, when I first found your podcast, I first got to meet you down there at the convention. I was like, oh man, these are my people. These are your real liberals. These are your progressives who don't give a fuck and are actually just here to help their neighbors have a good time and live out in the country.
Well, I saw you and I'm like, we're interviewing that dude. We're interviewing him first. Look at him. He's not a pussy. And Kevin's like, fuck yeah, dude. Look at his hat. Look at them fucking sideburns. Like, I like it. Let's do it. And I think the world needs more of that. I think you're seeing a lot more of that. You're seeing podcasters. That Americans are getting their news now from podcasts, 76% to 24% when it comes to corporate nightly news. And I think that's great. I think you need regular people that aren't bought and paid for by corporations telling you what's up because, they won't. I mean, they're not talking about the fucking Epstein files anymore. Not at all. It's horseshit.
We will be.
We will.
We're going right back to Epstein.
And we talk about it on our podcast every week. If it's only for 5 minutes, we don't want to let it go. But let's talk more about your race and Windy Boy, I'm assuming he's got money behind him. I don't know. I doubt there's been any polls on your race, so I don't have a feel of what's going on in that race. So what do you guys think?
Wendy, well, we've been told, based on what I've been told, and Sam probably can share his thing and other things I know, it seems like some people in the party wanted to get him in our race to scramble us for some reason. That's what I've been hearing from many different sources, people who are more plugged in than I am. And so, yeah, it was a thing. They were trying to just disrupt the race with him. And, but they just, Sam and I just looked at this from like a moral issue. I mean, I put out a post way before we got all the really serious stuff that came out. I just put a post up saying, guys, this guy has look at, I analyzed his responses and I said, look, this guy, something's off here. This doesn't make, why are people promoting a guy like this? I mean, I know Sam and I aren't perfect and you could criticize this, that's fine. But this kind of a guy with this in a year when women voters are critical, and especially, I'll tell you, there's independent women voters are this swing block in this election. And if they catch a whiff of any bullshit, no, they are not going to vote for you. You have to be real, and they have to know you got their back. So I'm like, why are these people doing this? And
I think they count on people not watching the news and not knowing. I think that
I don't know.
I think they count on that. I don't know either, man, but it is weird. It's weird how, because it was news that he left and it was news that he got back in. So people know what's up. I mean, I would assume. But if if the powers that be are the ones that got him back in the race, that's who he's got the backing of.
I don't think that's what happened. No, that didn't. They initially, people put him into the race to try. That's what I've been told. I don't know it, but I've been told initially people put him in to try to disrupt this for some reason. I don't know why. I think Sam and I are fine, but whatever. And and then whatever. And but then him getting back in the race, that is not coming from anybody except him. That is coming from the fact that he is a delusional individual who just can't stop. And I have said this, you've seen my socials. I've said he needs to get out of politics and pray to God for forgiveness. That is what that man needs to do right now. But that's up to him.
Brian, can you outline like what it is that's going on with that?
Well, he got in I mean, he got back in, and I mean, Sam told me about this woman, Melinda Gopher, and she was out there talking about stuff. And Sam told me, he said, hey, she's supporting you. You should go talk to her. So I went and did that. And then Sam and I kept talking and stuff like that about what to do. And then eventually, I talked to the woman, Brenda Russell, and that whole thing happened. And so when they reported, we went, talked to the party and said, guys, this is what we got. We wanted to give them a chance to think about this because this was tricky for them. It's easier for us than it was for the party, right? Because Wendy Boyd was like the dean of the Senate in his last. I mean, he's a high profile guy, and that's complicated for party people to work through, right? And these are people that have worked on him with him on bills. I think there was always talk about him, always, but putting your finger on the dark stuff, that's kind of, Sam and I were the first ones to really get at that. And that's just, it's complicated. So, they made him, they handled it the right way. They got him out. But this thing of him getting back in, if you look at the timing of it, he timed it right after there was that piece about me that came out in the publishing. And then I guess he felt like, I don't know what went on in his head, but he decided, this is some kind of conspiracy. And it's like, no, it's not a conspiracy, buddy. It is that somebody finally got the goods on you. And Sam and I decided this is too important that we're letting this out, even though there was risk involved. And, I knew, and, I even got this woman, her own attorney, to talk to separately to say, hey, if you don't want to do this, don't do this. Do it because you want to do it, not because it's a political thing. And if she'd have said no, we wouldn't have done it. So, I mean, that's the long and short of it. And at this point in time, he's still on the ballot. He will not withdraw. I know for a fact that if he doesn't get out of the Senate, they're going to boot him out. They're going to do an ethics procedure or something to get him out.
Didn't they already kick him off of the committee? Any committee he was on?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. But they're going to get him out all the way if they have to. I mean, if they have to. What's that?
Yeah, no matter what. I mean, he's going to get, there's complaints about him right now. You're the attorney for the woman, I'm assuming, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, the Democrats aren't going to, that's one thing we know Democrats won't stand for, win or lose. Fuck.
Well, and, I think that just to kind of continue on with what Brian was just saying a minute ago, like you were saying, like, hey, what's the sentiment, especially with him jumping back in? And I think that there's a couple of important things. The first is that I actually think that the sentiment for the Eastern race is extremely positive. I know that there's been a lot of people trying to push like, there's no way that anybody's going to win in the Eastern District. News articles coming out like, the only two people who think that Democrat can win in Eastern Montana are the Democrats who are running. And at the same time, I think that's dead wrong. I think the Eastern Montana is more primed for a flip than almost anywhere else. Yeah. And I think it is specifically because of the kind of candidates that we're running here with Brian and I. And, in
the Senate, people,
it's especially poignant given how we handled the Wendy Boy thing, because we've actually had people in the chat talking about this while Brian was talking as well. The Dems have known about what he did for literally decades now. The people have known, the Dems have known, those within the power structure have known, and yet because it was more convenient, no one gave enough of a damn to do anything about it. So, when we came in here as people who are completely uninterested in this game of political brinksmanship over, how many cookies and extra favors can I actually get by keeping my mouth shut about this guy who's a literal, predator? Neither one of us gave a damn. And it took almost no effort to completely blow this entire thing up. And to me, it shows that this entire political Jenga tower that we have built here in Montana, and I think it's representative of what's going across the entire country, is one block away from being able to be completely toppled and actually having everything righted, having us be able to go back to a common sense government that's of the people, by the people, for the people, and actually representative of better values. Mm-hmm. And all it takes is literally one or two guys who just do not care about the money they're going to try to wave at us or the favors that can be earned, and who are just going to sit there and say, well, this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Let me add something else in that real quick before we get, Matt, if you don't mind.
Oh, go for it, man.
To the next level of this story, where this is going to go, because right now I feel like there's a lot of people we respect the sovereignty of Indian country. They got to make their own decisions, right? That's their call. That's not our call. But my sense, and I think Sam's, is that this is being talked about a lot. I know that, I had some conversations with people in the Indian community about that. I understand this is very painful for people in Indian country right now. And I think now, it's kind of the thing, all the information's out there. On my last post, I put the text out there because people were starting to attack me, and I was starting to get attacked, and I was like, okay, well, now I'll let you see these, this isn't a joke. But the next level of this story, and we don't need to get into it in this election, but it is something that I know if we're elected to Congress, we're going to pursue this, is why didn't the U.S. Attorney's Office prosecute this man? Because we put up a receipt, a literal receipt, from when Brenda went and visited the FBI, and it was during Michael Cotter, the U.S. Attorney, and it's got his criminal case number for this investigation on it. Brenda was told there would be indictments. You see those texts. You tell me how you don't get an indictment, a guilty verdict with those fucking texts where he's saying, oh, you're 15?
Right.
Okay. And I blotted out the graphic stuff. Okay. And you also have Brenda Russell's direct testimony. Why the hell wasn't this guy prosecuted? That's the next level of the story. If we get to Congress, we'll do subpoenas. I don't give a shit what party it is. I don't give a shit. We're going to get to the bottom of this thing, and we're going to pull this thing out wherever it goes. But that's where this thing's going next. It's going to get more serious when we get into that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. And if there's a reason, maybe there's a reason, okay? Because I've tried cases. I've never tried a criminal case. I've defended criminal cases, but I've done I've done probably like 15 jury trials, okay, which is a fair amount for a civil trial attorney. So I've done a lot of jury trials. I know how hard it is to prove things because I've won some and I've lost some.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you don't get a conviction in this case. Right. I don't understand that.
Well, you've shared the proof on your social media. It's there. I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't. I mean, that sounds more like a Republican thing, I guess.
But this was Democrats. This was during the Obama
well, Democrats try to get away with it until they're caught red-handed. Like Republicans are just like, we're gonna fucking do it anyway and just shove it down your throat. I mean, that's
but
the
Republicans can beg forgiveness from Jesus, and it's okay. There's a big difference there.
And see, I think that it just shows because, Republican administration, Democratic administration, we've got decades of just shitty people who would rather take advantage of people and line their own pockets and abuse those with less voice than themselves than do anything else.
Well, I want to ask you about being on the campaign trail about exactly that, because when it comes to data centers, I think we're pretty fucking sure that Republicans are all on board no matter what. They are. I mean, you see Republican county commissioners not listening to 10,000 of their citizens, fucking going right against them. You're seeing, Troy Downing's going to be a fucking lapdog for this shit without a doubt. And I'm wondering if you guys, are you seeing that? Is that something that can make you feel a little more positive about your race and thinking that maybe a D could do it because this is a big issue right now? I mean, it's a huge issue right now.
Mm-hmm.
Brian,
Yeah,
here,
you go first on this because you go for it.
So I love talking about the data center issue, honestly, and I really like talking about it because I always say that my work background sounds like a lie, until I say it, because I've worked as a vet tech, I work as a ferry now. I also worked in software development for 5 years, so like I've literally worked in a data center before, and so like I have a very kind of unique perspective on it, and I would love to be able to help with this issue because you're right. Right now, we're seeing the Republicans run absolutely roughshod over it. And at the same time, we're seeing a lot of the Democrats, in my opinion, the elected Democrats we currently have, they're either not touching the issue or they're being so intentionally obtuse and saying, well, we're just not going to have them, ignoring the fact that we are going to end up having them, that they're not bothering to actually take the steps that we need to have to make sure that these data centers aren't going to completely destroy our communities. So, like I talk a lot about this issue all the time. I just put out a video on it of like, hey, we already know what the common sense solutions are. We see them being implemented all around the world to make sure that when these centers are built, they're not killing our communities. They're not sucking up all the water. They're not polluting the environment. They're not, running people out of their homes with high electricity costs. And right now, in my opinion, we have a total 100% failure for different reasons, but a total failure from both political parties to do anything about it. And I personally feel like it's almost intentional, as both parties are receiving a ton of money from big tech. And so if they both continue this, just again, the nonsense political brinksmanship, they can sit there and say, oh, well, we don't know what to do, and let those data centers get built before any legislation can be put in to actually affect the situation. Just really quickly, run through it. Direct-to-chip closed-loop centers are they consume over 95% less water. They don't produce any pollutants that can't be controlled, and they are able to completely cut down on the resource cost. You look at making it so they have to build at least 115% of the electrical infrastructure of what they're going to consume, so they're not jacking up our utility rates. And let's talk about the fact that in a world that's increasingly automated, in my opinion, we need to just have a new tax bracket across the board for these highly automated industries to say, if you're not contributing a meaningful number of jobs, you're going to be paying a base tax rate of 35%, and we're going to earmark at least 15% of that to go into directly paying for infrastructure and job training improvements in the community where that center is being built, to make it so that, hey, let's make it so that if this is going to be in here and it's not directly hiring people, it still has to help people find jobs.
Oh, that's a great idea. I mean, they're people, if you have an electric car in North Carolina, they're charging you $1,000 a year to drive your fucking car.
Yeah. Because
it's electric. They got to pay for the highways. I get it. But, if they're going to do something like that, that makes a lot of sense, Sam. I mean, and I see this whole AI thing being a big bubble again. It's going to burst like a motherfucker here in a year or two. I mean, it's just, America does this. We go fucking nuts, and everybody thinks they're going to be on top, and they invest everything they got into it, and only 10% of the motherfuckers win. How do we never learn our lesson?
Well, you know what? I want to say something about that and then comment on what Sam said. When this is part of the American psyche, I mean, this is like us, and it's got a negative and a positive. When Alexander Hamilton founded the National Bank of the United States of America in 1791, a bubble started immediately because they sold subscriptions to the National Bank, and they went insane. And it was a huge bubble. And actually, Hamilton got freaked out because he's like, whoa, I set up this bank because I thought I wanted to start to create this stable reserve for a currency. And people started speculating like crazy on it. Wow. So this is the American psyche. And what I say about it is that, like, look, there's something really cool about the go-getter American attitude. I mean, all the great inventions in modern history come from America. That's not an accident. Right. We're the place that does that. But yes, we need to be careful because it's got a dark side, right? And I think, like, with this data center thing, I don't know if you saw my post on seatbelts and data centers, but that's the analogy I'm using. Okay. the automobile, and I think Sam and I are going to work on this because I think Montana should set a national standard on this thing. Montana's done this before. Did you know that we're the first state in the nation that had an old age pension law in 1923? We basically invented Social Security. Montana, Montana. We got leadership in this state, right? Regular ass people, right? So seatbelts. The automotive industry cried and bitched and complained and moaned about seatbelts. Yeah. Oh my God, government regulations. Like, no, shithead, because when you get in an accident out there, we have to pull your ass off the street, you idiot. You don't live in a bubble. Okay? First responders have to, no, you're wearing a goddamn seatbelt because somebody else has to pick up the problem or whatever, right? So the automobile industry, bitched and moaned. You're going to bankrupt it. No, you're going to learn how to make seatbelts. That's what's going to happen. And the market's going to adapt. We need to do that with data centers. We need to set a standard that you're going to meet with all these things Sam talked about. You're going to build data generation. You're not going to, and the other thing we need to have a conversation with, which Sam and I started this, is we got to start talking to the unions because there's a rift right now, and we got to talk to these guys to make sure that of course we want those to be union jobs. But if we get into the speculation thing, dude, we could, the people are really nervous about this, and we got to respect that. We got to make sure that we're not doing another Copper Kings thing here in Montana, right? We can't do it. We can't do it. Like they want this place. They want our space. They want our water. They want this shit. Well, why not? Let's make this work for us for a change. For regular ass people. How about that?
So there's so much here though that I just really want to weigh in on, because I'm watching all of this unfold. This sort of narrative, like we're gonna have $400 million pour into Montana just in these races alone. I mean, maybe that's an overestimate, but it won't be by much. I mean, we all watched Tester and Sheehy, and like that, it was more money than like our state gets to spend that was just being spent on these elections. And so it's like this fascination I've had, and like I like this conversation because we're all just sort of four dudes who are doing this because we're sick and tired of being lied to, because we're watching everything get more expensive, because we're afraid that the world our kids are going to grow up in is just going to be like authoritarian, like this is a terror. And like I got involved in all of this because my kid had cancer, and then RFK Jr. just gutted children's cancer research. I just got fucking pissed, man. Like I'm so angry about that. And then, but like what I'm watching right now unfold is just this inundation of money and subterfuge, and just like nobody knows what to believe anymore. Nobody knows who to believe. Nobody knows where to get information from. And it's why Ed is just so refreshing to me. And you guys are as well, because like we're all just sort of standing up and like, man, I have a doctorate in psychology. It's a counseling degree. And like, so I'm gonna use whatever skills that I have to try and fight back against what I see. I mean, I think a lot of what we're seeing going on right now is just about data centers. I mean, I think the economy is driven by AI. It's so inflated by AI. AI needs one thing. It needs data centers, and they want to put them here. Like, what other explanation is there for why that amount of money would pour into our elections in all of these dark places and just start telling our stories for us? Like, I don't want somebody telling my story for me. And that's like, I mean, that's why I'm here with you guys right now. And it's why I'm insistent on, and I've been looking at like methods for asymmetrical warfare. It's something like that, right? Like, how do we make enough noise, like without hundreds of thousands of dollars, without like just sending mailers to every Montana, like that are paid by somebody else, like in one way we do that is with podcasts. And one way that you guys are doing that is by coming together and sharing a platform, because we have to elevate we have to find people who are real, who actually care about Montana, and we have to hold them up. So those are the stories that we're listening to. And if we don't do that, I just promise you, man, AI and dark money, it's going to win. Like the people surrounding Trump at his inauguration are going to fucking win. And they're just going to take everything.
And see, I think that a big thing that we need to look at as well is the fact that, like Brian brought up, America has been at the forefront of innovation for a very long time in the world. And quite frankly, I think that we need to be really careful that we preserve that. And I think that we've become to the point where, as a nation, we started taking for granted that we've always been at the front of it, because now we've had multiple generations that have always been at the front of it. And I think that if we do start falling behind on that, quite frankly, that is what America has to offer on the world stage. Yeah, we got a big military, we got all this stuff, but we are consistently inconsistent in every other area. And that's what allows us to stay a world leader, is being at the forefront of innovation. Yeah. At the same time, there's the thing of like, okay, well, there's the argument that regulation stifles innovation. I actually think that that's false. I think that regulation is aggressive, sensible regulation can actually help us to achieve that innovation by forcing these companies to find newer, better, and more creative ways to employ the what we already know. Let's take again back to the data centers real quick. Look at the fact that what we have currently with the data center model is, do you know why they're not doing the direct chip cooling? Does anybody know?
Money, I'm assuming.
Well, that's the thing. It's an 8% efficiency loss.
Yeah.
8% efficiency loss. That is completely able to be absorbed by that company. Quite frankly, especially as somebody that's running to represent the people and not the corporations, I do not give a fuck about an 8% loss in profits for a private corporation.
Yeah, who cares?
Especially a private corporation that's receiving taxpayer-funded subsidies. I really don't care at that point.
Right.
And if it's a thing of like, hey, you're going to be forced to do this, so find a more efficient way to do direct-to-chip cooling. I don't mind if they innovate in that. And if they do, hey, look at that. Now we've got a data center that uses no water. Now we've got a data center that is consuming less electricity. That's the reason why they developed that cooling method in the first place. We have to be able to force them, because these corporations are not going to do what's right for the people out of the goodness of their heart. We just had a comment come across from Facebook saying, they want our water so they can cool their data centers for less money. And that's exactly it. They're expecting that no one's going to pay attention up here in Montana. Nobody's going to know what the differences is. Nobody's going to know there's another option, and they're going to be able to come in and steamroll us and turn our entire, state up here into a desert scape that's sucked dry of water and turned into a hellscape.
Yeah,
we can stop that, and all it takes is somebody to sit there and say, "Hey, no, we're not here for the corporate bottom line."
Yeah, and I think this is this is something I think we really, we got to start hitting on in the general election, is that, Ronald Reagan started this idea, and it's been, there's things I really like Ronald Reagan on, okay? He's like all presidents, he's a mixed bag. There's something he's amazing on. There's some things I disagree with him on, okay? But the one thing he did that was harmful was tell everyone that government's a problem. His famous statement said, the 9 most dreaded words in the English language is that I'm from the government and I'm here to help. That's bullshit, dude. That is bullshit, because I could take you back to Alexander Hamilton, who's my favorite, and show you the things that he did and how he laid it out and said, hey, listen, sometimes you need government to open up risky markets because there's too much risk. You publicly finance it. You can do things. So there's always been this synergy between smart government power, productive use of government debt, okay, and innovation. The internet was developed in freaking Defense Department, bro. Like in the Defense Department, okay, not private. And here's what the simple thing is. It's just human nature. If you're the CEO of a corporation, you got shareholders to answer to. You need to make quarterly profits. You are under a lot of pressure to make quarterly profits. That's all you're focused on, most of them. That's when we, the people, get into our government and said, hey, data center guy, I know you got shareholders, you got private equity guys that are breathing down your neck. Guess what? We don't give a shit. You're going to do this the way we want it done, and you're going to have to adapt, like Sam says. And guess what? Some smart guy is going to say, okay, well, shit, in Montana, they're putting some brakes on us. How can we work with that? How can we innovate? But if we don't put the constraints on the human tendency for unlimited greed, then we're going to have nothing left. So we've got to push through this idea that government's your enemy, because the reality is the people that push that, they just want to create this zone of anarchy for corporations to do whatever the hell they want to you. And that's the game that we have to expose in 2026. We got to expose that.
I think Reagan did that, and Republicans have been that way just so you don't pay attention to what they're doing. Right now, the argument, Trump is closing down as much solar as he can, says it doesn't work, says China doesn't do it. They're not stupid. They're subsidized. And this is your fucking MAGA argument that really blows me away, because they say, well, they need to be subsidized to actually to work. And it's completely not true.
So does coal.
Bullshit.
Do you know what gas and oil subsidies were last year? $40 billion fucking dollars. You know what they were in 2024? $34 billion. You know where gas, solar, and wind are? Zero right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is fucking insane to me. So think about this way, America. The powers that be are going to subsidize these AI centers now. Of course they are. That's the big money now. So we need politicians like you, people like us talking about this, getting it out there, because corporate media is never going to fucking talk about it. They can't talk about it. They'll lose their fucking jobs, because this is insane. When you tell me I'm paying $6 a gallon for diesel and Exxon's getting fucking billions of dollars in subsidies, meanwhile raking in record profits. That shit's got to stop. And I think that was Reagan's plan back in the day. Saying, you know what? Government's fucked. We can't do a goddamn thing. So they don't have to do a thing for the little guy, but look what they're doing to big business and have done since the fucking 80s, man. Raping the fuck out of us, destroying the middle class so these trillionaires can make more money. It blows my fucking mind.
The purpose of the American economy right now is to crap out the world's first trillionaire.
Yes.
Well, and see,
he's going to be a South African dude.
I've been talking about a lot, and this actually goes into the fact that we just got a comment asking, where's all the money for rural healthcare going? And I think that goes into as well. But it's the thing is, like, you hear all these folks that they've been chanting it for a decade now. Make America great again. And I've asked a few folks, it's like, okay, well, like what time period do you think was the great time period for America? And a lot of them pretty consistently sit there and say, oh, it was the 50s or the 60s. And ignoring some of the other problems that we had at that period, I'm like, all right, well, I can see some things that were great at that period. We had a corporate tax rate that was 35%. We had a wealth tax on anybody that was making more than $10 million a year. We had blah 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 blah. All these things in there. And actually, it wasn't even 10 million. It was what was it, 400,000?
I think it was 400,000.
Yeah, 400,000. And so we had all this. It's like, hey, I'm all in favor. Let's bring that back. And if the argument these days, and it's a completely false narrative, is them sitting there and saying, oh, if we raise the tax rate like that, they're all going to leave. No, they're not. This is where all their stuff is. And if we already have such great incentive programs in so many other ways, they're not going to leave. Are you kidding me? They have way too much investment here. What we can do at that point, though, what we can absolutely lean into is the fact that, hey, when did we get the first millionaires and the first billionaires within our economy? When we had a wealth tax, when we had those corporate tax rate, when we had all of those things that took money from those that were making it hand over fist and made sure to use it to subsidize the people, instead of the way we flipped it now and have the people subsidize the corporation.
Well, Sam,
that's radical liberal. That's a radical liberal idea.
Yeah, baby.
Well, except it wasn't. It was a
Democrats have to fight back. Democrats
Yeah.
have to fight back on this ridiculous narrative that these are radical liberal socialist ideas. That shit's. It just. I'm sorry, but it just fucking pisses me off so much.
Well, no. Okay, so I just want to. So once there has to be a level of regulation. And Sam, I'm just like really hearing what you're saying, but like if we rewind the clock to Bush, like they deregulated everything. And then and then what happened at the end of his tenure? I mean, well, we went to a war for reasons that were clearly false, and Cheney did very well in that war. But then the housing market crashed, and the same thing happened with Enron. And you can look at what happened. It's because when you deregulate, then greed kicks in full throttle, and people start creating products that make you money right now, but cost you money later on. And that's what happened. Like that's literally the end of Bush's tenure was the housing market absolutely crashed. because people were giving out all these loans, these high-risk loans, and then bundling them and selling them off. Like, it's a bad business strategy.
My family got destroyed by that.
So many people did, man. And that was a byproduct of deregulation. So there necessarily has to be some level of regulation, or corporate greed just reigns the day. But like, when you take out all the regulations, it's like throwing gas on a fire, man. Like, it'll poof up, but it just burns through everything. So, and that's what we're seeing right now in where we're at, right? Like, we're just taking off all the guardrails, and so the economy will flare up. But that is just not going to last. Like,
no, it's gonna, and I think I mean, we're seeing a lot of troubling signs right now about that we may be in for a very serious depression. I mean, we could talk about that too, but it's almost like, I say to people, man, if you gave an economics student an assignment and said, hey, go do everything that could cause another Great Depression, Trump would get an A in that class. Okay. Yeah. He's doing it. But I wanted to comment on something that another thing that we're talking about earlier with the government stuff, though, that I talk about too, is that I do think that we need to be, at least I take into account that I think there's a very legitimate conservative critique about government inefficiency and government waste. And I want to say that, like, I take that seriously. And I think that one thing we do have to realize is that one thing that is a legitimate gripe that conservatives have is when we take money and put it in the government and it's not used well. And I want to know, I take that very seriously, and that's legitimate. Because I'm not a socialist, because I think that you have to make sure that we're staying more productive. You've got to stay productive. And conservatives, I think, sometimes have legit critique because they're like, I don't like the idea of you giving stuff to someone who's not being productive. And you know what? That's a very fair critique. I agree with that critique, but they've gone too far. So I think that, like, when we do these things, because we're going to have to do them, because if we don't, everything's going to crash, blow up, explode, and then we'll be having to do all the shit that FDR did. But if we get to that point and we go through all that pain, I do think we're going to need to make sure that we stay sensitive to those critiques, because they're valid as hell. Let's make sure that we're using it efficiently and we've got good feedback loops, because the one thing about the free market that is really powerful is you get that feedback loop. Ed, you're a business guy, we're all in business. When you're not doing a good job, if you get that feedback. Government, you always get your goddamn paycheck. And I've seen a lot of that bullshit, especially, Ed, in the marijuana field. We see that all. It's like, dude, you always get paid. And it's like, this is a great example. The marijuana regulators, they don't really understand how real business works. No. And they're horrible. They are horrid. So we got to watch out for that, I think.
Dude, I went to let an inspector into one of my dispensaries. I'm not on the clock. I don't work the counter. I've got a couple businesses. I go there and he says, you got your worker badge? I go, no, I don't have my little badge. I'm sorry. I'm a 53-year-old fucking business owner, you bitch. Fuck you and your badge. Okay. I don't have it. I'm not working today. I'm here doing you a courtesy, letting you in. Motherfucker gives me I'm getting a fine for it.
Yep.
This is just, I'm sorry. That's just Republican bullshit in Montana, if you ask me, because I hate the weed.
It is.
But we got to start wrapping up. I'd like to get your thoughts real quick on the latest Democrat conspiracy out here, having to do with the Bodner race and Bankhead and Black Wolf. And, I'll be honest, we're gonna interview Alani next week. I interviewed her about a month ago. I think she's an awesome woman, without a doubt. And I think there's some good candidates in that race. But from what I'm hearing and what most people seem to be convinced of, is the banter has been that the Bodner campaign has offered six figures to all the Democrats, or one Democrat, whatever, to drop out. And so he can be the front guy. What we've heard was that Neil is in the front runner. That's what you've been hearing. But now Alani Bankhead's gotten $288,000 from dark money thrown into her campaign. She says she knows nothing about it, but the rumors are, they like Bodner's, because this is coming from the same people giving Bodner money. So it's pretty fucking weird, if you ask me.
So Ed, is that true?
They want her to win.
Ed, is that true that it's coming?
Drop out,
that it's coming from the
Democrat. That's the rumor.
Yeah. It's a rumor, or can we look at paper and say that the money is definitely coming from?
There's no way you can look at paper and find where the money's coming from. The FCC filings are all out there. FCC, yeah. And it's all, there's a difference. It's definitely out there, and it's weird looking. And Riley got some money, not a whole lot, but she got some. Black Wolf hasn't gotten anything that I can tell, but it does seem, legit. Like, okay, because we're going to ask Alani about it next week. We'll see what she has to say. She says she knows nothing about the PAC, doesn't know any of the people, and that is how it's supposed to be. But I think any politician would say that. But I don't know. Before we leave, I want to get your opinions on this, because to me, it doesn't surprise me. The Democrats in Montana are so fucked up. It's sad because Republicans are in disarray, and here we go. We got to be worse off.
Well, I'll go first on this. I mean, I think first off, I think I've met Alani, and I think she's great, and I think she's done a lot. I was telling Matt this, I think she has done legitimate work on child sex trafficking things, 100%. And I think she's a great person, and she's in the heart in the right place. All of this dumping of money in does not make sense to me. I mean, the only way that it makes sense to me is if it is somehow to help Seth Bodnar, and that's just how it looks. And I can't come to any other, because just when there's a whole lot to it, but just for me personally, that's just what I'm left with. And if that is what is happening at some level, that is not right. That is not right, because
not at all.
That's not being straight. And I'm not saying it's Alani doing it, but if she's in it, she really does, I think, have to think about what this is doing and how this is playing out. And I hope that you guys have a frank conversation about it.
I do too. What do you think, Sam?
So I very much agree with what Brian was just saying. And, again, I think Alani's great. I met with her the day after she started her campaign. Thought she was good enough to actually extended an invite to her to join the nationwide coalition of candidates I've been working with, and she ended up joining with that. I think that she's a genuinely good person. I do think that, personally, and maybe I'm just sitting too much up on my high horse, I think that she should have rejected that dark money, because I think that everybody's getting sick and tired of bought and paid for candidates, and it is what it looks like, regardless of if it's what's true. But I think that, I think that what we're seeing across the board in Montana, I think that we're seeing Montana being used as a test bed to test a new form of candidatal gerrymandering, if you will, mainly because there is a lot of money and there's a lot of industry, like we were talking about earlier, that wants to come into Montana, but there's also nobody on the national stage who gives a damn about what happens up here.
No.
And, we're seeing it with the fact that the way that Windy Boy jumped into our race, reeks of him being pushed into it by something, because he had no.
Dude, I don't know, man. We got Cash Patel coming out here to Billings, eating at the marble table. I think there's something. I think these data centers, man, are I think we have federal attention.
And I don't disagree with you there. But then in the Senate race, I can speak to a couple of candidates because I've become good friends with the majority of the folks running. And Michael Blackwolf, he got his accounts hacked and they literally got deleted from him the day after. So this is what happened with that. He was running, and he essentially had somebody that he's asked me not to name specifically who, but somebody, said to him hey, I know that you've been sinking a lot of money into this, and if you drop out, I can just make those debts from the campaign go away. And he, Michael, being a good guy, was no, screw that. And literally less than a day later, he loses access to all of his socials. They all get deleted, and he's screwed.
So dark. Yeah.
And then we see with Riley with the and obviously she was able to turn to her advantage, and I think that she's a freaking rock star for doing it. But with that insane spree of the mailers, going out there to try to slander her and talk about how bad she is.
Dude, so me and Brian argued that, and Brian and I are on different pages on that one, man. I think that was deliberate, man. You could not have constructed something that would be more helpful for a candidate than
right.
I just think that there's really insidious stuff.
What I think that it really is, I think that every candidate in the Senate needs to be extremely transparent with what their record is, what beds they're getting into when it comes to money, all these kind of things. Because regardless of if it's Riley having a mailer that ended up being working out great to her advantage, or Alani with questions coming up surrounding her legitimacy and like her her past history and whatnot. Again, I do agree with Brian that I think that she has done good work within in the sex trafficking thing. But regardless of who we're talking about here, we need our Senate candidates, especially because we have so many good ones, to be extremely transparent and to show us that they're not part of this overall dark money plot that I do genuinely believe is being orchestrated across the board to make Montana elections look worse, so they can try to push for a rules change in the June Rules Committee with the Democratic Party so they can get the party to throw in its support behind Bodner. I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they tried to do it with our race, and Brian and I were able to completely turn that on its head. I think they're trying to do it with the Senate race. And, I think that they're trying to, I think that they're, in the case of people like Riley, I think that they're sitting there saying, oh, if we make it look like she's getting a benefit out of it, people won't trust her. And it doesn't actually have to be coming from her. I think with Michael's case, it's a clear thing of them being like, hey, we can make all your problems go away if you just do what we want. And, oh, you're not going to do it? We're going to punish you.
Dude, we're all getting our social media deleted after this one.
And we have to have our candidates sit there and say, hey, all the cards are on the table. I can prove that I'm not in Bodner's pocket.
Mark Roscoe was on the POTUS station on XM radio this morning, stumping for Bodner. And I guess Bacchus is going to be the next guy. We've had Tester stumping for him. And I don't blame Tester. I'll be honest. 2 years ago, I said Democrats should fucking stop running as Democrats. They should invest all their money in signature gatherers and all run as independents, because Montana voters are stupid anyway. They're going to vote for independent more than a D, and the R's are fucking up, so why not vote for the I? But the way the Democrats handle this whole thing, fucked. Yeah. It's fucked. No, there's no coordination. There's no leadership. There's no direction. I mean, unless the direction is to deflect and fucking confuse, because that's what I'm seeing, and I hate to be that critical of them. I'm no expert in it at all. I'm just a talking head, but I know the leadership, and we know what we've been through the last, goddamn, 20 years of this shit, I mean, it's not, I can't say it's no fault of their own, because it is. I don't think a lot of candidates are treated fairly. I think everybody should be on a more even playing field, but people also are going to have their favorites. But I do think this whole Senate race thing, it's fucked. It's just, right. I hate to see it. Bodner should have ran as a fucking Democrat. He just should have. I mean, he's a Democrat. And
he's a Democrat.
You think about this. Neil's never dropping out. If she wins, she's not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
And, I just see the Republicans tearing him apart in the general. I don't see, he's allowing a transgender to play sports and he supports it. That's all you need these days. I'm not saying it's right. I think it's fucking stupid. I'm getting mailers every day from Republicans running up here in the Flathead Valley telling that they're going to do what they can to keep transgender kids out of sports. Fuck you.
6 of them.
Give me some fucking money, you asshole. Give me some goddamn policy. Like Aaron Flint, that's all he talks about is how Montana Democrats are on the Epstein list and this and that. It's like, what? What are you going to do to help me? I mean,
let's get the jobs figured out and inflation down, and then we'll let these guys argue about who goes to a bathroom.
And I think the Democrats need to end the culture war and end it now. If they had some smart fucking people, that's what they'd be doing, because they're letting the Republicans direct the narrative. And that started in 2016 with Trump. A lot of hate has come out of this country. A lot of hate out of a lot of people. And when we're all supposed to fucking support and like each other, we're supposed to get along, I mean, it's just like, I don't know if you guys know who, Dobson, the libertarian pastor, Chuck Baldwin. He's a libertarian pastor out of Kalispell. I tell you what, this guy, he's calling it like it is. And he's saying the evangelical Christians, they're the demise of this country. And they're the people that vote for Trump. They're the people that have no tolerance for anybody but themselves. And they they say they believe in Jesus. Right. Do they know who the fuck Jesus is? I mean, I don't know. Okay, that's
blessed as me, man.
There's your
and
rant.
if I can just
I love an Ed rant.
kind of summarize at least what my thoughts are on it is, I think that Riley has proven she's going to put in the work, and like you said, if she gets through, she's not dropping out. I think that she has really put in the work there. Michael Blackwolf, I mean, shoot, he called me as soon as he got locked out of his accounts. And I've got a tech background. As you guys know, I set this up for us today. I was able to very clearly see that somebody maliciously took away his stuff when he didn't comply.
Wow.
We've got two candidates right there that can really show, like, hey, we are not the people who are going to bow to this dark money power game. Now, I think Alani is a good person. I genuinely do. I think that she needs to, get in there and put some cards on the table, though, to prove that she's not part of it. And I think that that's not too much to ask. We're seeing the other candidates do that. Yeah. And, again, it's not me trying to throw shade at her. I just think that that's what's going to be necessary if we're going to have a free and fair election.
All right, team. So I talked to Alani an hour and a half ago, right? So literally, and I want to kind of tell this story, and I can wrap this into my closing arguments, right? Is that correct, Brian?
Let's let Matt close it up. I'm getting some stares from my woman.
Well, so, and this is part of this idea of asymmetrical techniques, right? So, one of the things I'm looking at is, how do we elevate people who are out there doing the right thing? And so, Alani and I out here in Billings are working on a missing persons case right now. And the last podcast that I did was with Alani, and a woman named Jamie Grossman went missing in 2012. And we're putting that back in the spotlight. And the news, so Channel 8 just picked up the story that we're putting out there. And I mean, this is it's terrifying stuff. In Billings, we have women go missing and people don't go looking for them. And so that's what Alani is. That's what she says she is. That's her platform. She's a bad guy hunter. And so that's to me, it's all right, I'm going to find her a bad guy, And so we put this story out there, and I think we're going to get some answers, and we're going to get some real change. And because I am very, very pro Alani, I think Riley's fantastic as well. I know that she's done her work. I mean, she's a newspaper lady from a small town in Montana. She's the real deal too. But Alani is, she's hooked me up with federal agents who investigate sex traffickers, and we're actually together going to go after some of these people who are committing these horrendous crimes against women. And so she drove literally from Helena 3 hours and then did this interview with myself, Ashley, and then her daughter, Jamie's daughter, Taylor, who just wants to know what happened to her mom. And so to me, that's a real platform that can possibly elevate past the dark money, right? Because we have all of these insidious forces that are trying to tell our stories for us. So let's go to work on what we're good at, man. Let's that's
the thing. The dark money is all about obfuscating and making it hard to tell. Just make it easy.
And so I'm excited for, because I literally asked Alani, I was I'm going on this podcast with Ed, and Ed, I'm still trying to stay relevant here, man. So you keep me around. I like hanging out with Ed, man. Ed makes me really happy. But so I just asked her those questions, and she told me point blank that nobody's ever offered her 6 figures to throw the race for Bodner. And also nobody ever asked her, and she's trying to make phone calls, and I'm trying to make phone calls. There's a lady named Funk, I can't remember her first name, but I'm actively trying to track her down because I want to call her. Yeah, I think that's right.
Mafi Funk. She was a rep in 2012, or I don't know, maybe earlier.
She lives in Helena.
06. Yeah, she's a pretty popular person. She's easy to find.
Well, so I'm going to find her. I've started on this quest.
There's nothing she can do. People can spend money on whoever they want when it comes to a PAC, which that sucks because the candidate, sometimes they don't know. And, the thing is, the crazy thing is nobody's offered money to drop out from a primary. That would be stupid. They offer the money to the winner. That's where Alani looks fucking weird because of the mass dump of cash she's getting. So I look forward to talking to her next week on our podcast, and we'll see how it goes. And like I said, I think she's great. I think the Democrats are lucky with a lot of the talent that they have out there running right now. I really do. Yeah, but, man,
we got good people.
We should wrap this up, Matt. Why don't we give you the last word on this?
Oh no, I got the last. That was my last word. We have to find new ways to reach people. We have to find new ways to reach people that gets past the obfuscation. Sam, help me out. Obfuscation.
Obfuscation.
That's the one, man. Like, we got to get past that somehow, and we have to tell real stories. And you guys are real dudes, and I just like it's a privilege talking to you guys, and so much appreciation and gratitude for standing up for our country, for our state, and for Montanans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you guys for being here. I mean, I love getting to run with Brian. I love getting to run aside of Lonnie and Riley and Michael and everybody else. These are some amazing people here in Montana.
There is. There really is. And hopefully we can do this again before the primary. That'd be fun.
Yep.
Maybe a little special. Well, thanks a lot, you guys.
Yeah,
thanks. That was great.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
All right, you guys,
All right,
signing
stream is
off.
off.
Bye.
Till
guys.
next time.
Bye.
All right. So, how did everybody think of what everybody think of the Streamlabs setup?
You know, man, it seems fine. Did you stopped all the live yourself?
Yeah, I just cut off the lives a second ago.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you know, the weird thing is I'd like to see, like, God damn it. So I just looked at Instagram. I had a bunch of people watch it on Instagram. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it on my computer. I could not find where to look at it. Trump turned the swamp into a protected wetland. That's
So if you were using my interface, through my interface, I can actually see. I was able to see all the chats. I was responding to people in like everybody's chat. But so like that's going to be the benefit if we get you set up for this. But yeah, this is essentially the setup. You know, once you actually get it up and running, it's pretty quick and easy. I mean, I got us all linked up on here in like 5 minutes.
cool.
I mean, this is next level. Like, I don't know if anybody else is doing this, where we're like, there's this blast of live streams with everybody that, you know, we have involved in the conversation. Like, this is really powerful technology we're playing with right now.
I mean, that's the thing. Through my setup here, I can simultaneously stream to 250 different platforms at the same time.
That's so crazy.
That's insane. Sam, I've got some guys coming to our studio Wednesday, an hour and a half before our show to try to do this same thing.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, I actually like deeply believe this, that Ed, your voice in this process matters so much, just because we need somebody to, like, people are so tired of woke liberal elites. Like, they make me nauseous. And like, if we can't take back that terrain, like we're just going to keep losing. And I don't want to keep losing.
No, I don't either. I mean, that's what we have to, we just have to stop.
The other
Sam,
thing also
quick,
for you guys as well, this was simulcasting both in the mobile view and the web view, so people that were using their cell phones could see it where we're all in like little quarters around their phone, and then people on web view were able to see the other version.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, well, I better go walk my dog, so I'm going to get my nuts cut off.
Thank you for listening to the Pay Love Forward podcast. If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you think, don't let it stop there. Pay Love Forward is more than a podcast. It's a movement, a community, and a way of being. At its heart is a simple commitment to invest in others in ways that multiply. In partnership with Resilient Stories, we're committed to hearing the story within the story, the deeper narrative of courage, compassion, and renewal that remind us of who we are as a moral people. If you'd like to walk with us, find a mentor, find a mentee, and join one of our community gatherings. You can connect through our Facebook group or visit www.payloveforward.net to learn more. Let's keep building something beautiful together.